Let's go. Hello there, everyone, and welcome to the show and our brand new podcast that encompasses 3 countries. My neighbor from the north and the most polite people in the world, we've got Taylor from Canada.
Hi, guys.
From all the way across the pond, the tiny island you may have heard of, Great Britain, we've got Jack.
Hello, everybody.
And I'm Jimmy, coming from you from the heartland of America, Kansas. Just like I said, we're a brand new podcast. This will be our maiden voyage. As you can expect from our name, we're going to cover all things in the Star Wars universe. As we grow and learn the trade, we'll expand our topics and we will have something for every Star Wars fan. Now, let's explore the Force. Our first topic today will be the moments that you guys got hooked on Star Wars, and now here we are. Taylor, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah. Actually, I kind of had a bad experience with Star Wars when I was a kid. I remember my dad had been watching something in our living room, and I thought I'd sit down and watch it with him. And I've never really liked anything that my dad watched on TV. We never really kind of had the same likes. And so I sit down and I'm watching, and it's this kid who's fighting against this guy in this big black suit, and in 5 seconds flat, he gets his hand lopped right off, and it terrified me. So much so, I stood up, walked over to my kitchen, whined to my mom that my dad was watching something scary in the living room, and then it started a big fight, and he had to turn it off. So that was my first experience with Star Wars. Years later, down the road, I think it was 2012, I met my husband now, and he showed me Star Wars. And honestly, I didn't even know what to think about we watched the original trilogy first, which was space wizards and like farm boys and aliens and robots, and it just absolutely fascinated me, so much so that I made him rewatch the whole the originals and the prequels, but I wanted to watch them in chronological order. And the moment I knew that I was in this, that I love Star Wars, was, I think it was honestly in the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, when Obi-Wan and Anakin are flying in the Jedi ships, and they're just flying so in sync, and there's a battle going on, and the banter is great, and there's just so much happening, and I loved it. And from then on, it's just it's been Star Wars crazy.
Very cool. How about you, Jack?
Yeah, mine was a positive experience, actually. So mine was by my mum, and essentially she used to take my Uncle Darren to the cinema all the time. And I remember her telling me that she took him like 7 times in 1 week just to watch A New Hope. And obviously I was only a kid. I wasn't even alive when the original was out anyway. But I remember she brought home this massive Death Star toy. It was a Micro Machines Death Star toy. A little Falcon that could come out, a little miniatures, everything. I was hooked with just toys to begin with that. And then each week I'd have like a new Star Wars toy, and then the tapes and that come out. I'd be watching the films with my Uncle Darren. And I remember he gave me this Star Destroyer keyring. It was like vintage collector's edition, and it was like, "Don't you open this." I was about 9 or 10 years old or whatever, and I was like, "Yeah, no problem." As soon as he left the house, boom, it was cracked straight away. And yeah, it started from that, and then again for me, because I was a prequels kid, seeing the Phantom Menace at the cinema. I was always been big into books as well. I read the Phantom Menace book. Again, I was about 9 years old. There's quite a few pages in that. I'd finished that. Absolutely hooked, seeing that at the cinema. And then again, just every time something new come out, it's just like reigniting that fire, and it's just constant going and going and going. And yeah, it's just non-stop. And then, because I do trooping and that now with the UKG and 501st, it's like when we're doing our cosplay stuff at Comic Cons and seeing the kids, it's something about it when the kids are laughing or they're pointing or people are asking for photos. Yeah, it just gets the fire going again.
Very cool. I think I had a similar experience, a positive experience, Taylor, but I can remember going to the theater. I was alive. I mean, I was one whenever New Hope came out. So, but my first experience is my dad took me to see Return of the Jedi. And when the Rancor eats the Gamorrean guard, my dad laughed so hard. You know, I'm almost 50 years old now, and that's something that I still can remember. As my dad just almost in tears. He's like, it sounds like he's eating celery. Just howling. And that was kind of like a pretty big bonding moment for my dad and I. And so I kind of loved it then. And I kind of went up and down, you know, being at the age I was, G.I. Joe and all that stuff were out there. And then a few years ago, I kind of got back into it, going through, you know, personal stuff. And Star Wars had always been there, you know, it's always been there. I went and, you know, saw the prequels with friends of mine and things like that. But kind of got back into it and really dove back into Star Wars. And as a coach, I don't have kids of my own or anything like that, but as a coach, we when The Force Awakens came out, we took our team, it was probably about 35 high school boys to see The Force Awakens, and they were so pumped afterwards. Getting to share that, like my dad shared Return of the Jedi with me, kind of really started and igniting my fire again for Star Wars. And you know, the next year we went and we saw, I think it was like Rogue One or something. I can't think of the order right now. But then the next year when we didn't have a movie, the kids were like, "Well, what Star Wars movie are we going to see this Christmas?" And I was like, "Well, we don't have one." And they're like, "What?" You know, so I mean, just being able to share that stuff with people and the excitement, I think that's kind of really pulled me back in to the Star Wars community. And I've just been like you guys. Here we are starting a podcast because we love it so much. So very cool.
We just want to talk
Very
about it.
cool. Yes. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about is our favorite moment in Star Wars. And obviously, this is going to be a difficult one because there's so much content out there now.
Yeah.
This can be anything. It can be comics. It can be books. It can be canon. It can be legends. It can be whatever you want it to be. When you think Star Wars comes to mind? And Jack, you go ahead and start us off on
I've
this
got
one.
so many. There is one that sticks out, which I do want to quickly just brush over. So, and it, like you're saying, that ranges from everything, from stuff from the Phantom Menace, where it was absolutely posted everywhere over the UK. It was all on a famous TV show, to literally a game, The Force Unleashed, where you're pulling down a Star Destroyer. God, so much. But the biggest one for me, and for me, it is the start of Star Wars as well, is the Phantom Menace, Duel of the Fates, where those doors open and that music kicks in, and Darth Maul is one of the famous characters, and I was like, whoa, here we go. I remember seeing it on the trailer, and then that gets you excited because it's a new bad guy. He looks absolutely badass, and then the lightsaber ignites, and then it ignites again. I'm like, what is going on here? And then it's straight into the battle as well. But as well, with that Duel of the Fates, there's so much meaning behind that. And obviously, the more I've got into Star Wars, the more there's so much meaning to it. So the more I understand about it, because it's not just titled Duel of the Fates for the sake of it. It's everything that we've watched Star Wars wise comes down to that battle. So, for example, if Darth Maul had killed both Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn, there'd be no more Star Wars. If Darth Maul had never ever killed Qui-Gon Jinn, what would Anakin have been like? If Darth Maul had killed Obi-Wan and not Qui-Gon Jinn, what would have happened? You know, and it's like that one bit of the entire franchise, everything hangs in the balance there with that one battle. And yeah, the fallout. Spoiler alert. Everything.
Yeah, that is. You sit there and you look at it from that angle.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Taylor.
I said, spoiler alert, Qui-Gon gets kebabbed.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I do believe that they spoiled that with the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very cool. Mine's going to actually come from the animation, which I did not get into Clone Wars. I didn't get into Rebels right away. And when I kind of had my resurgence into Star Wars and just kind of found it was something that brought me comfort. I got into all those. I binged through Clone Wars on I think Netflix or something. and then got into Rebels, and it was a scene that I didn't really. And we talked about it earlier, but when it happened, I was like, "What?" But it's when episode 20 of season 3 of Star Wars Rebels, the Twin Suns episode, when they bring Kenobi back in, and you see, obviously it leads there. Ezra's pulling Maul to Kenobi, and Kenobi and Maul square off with each other. And I don't think I even realized it, um, when it happened. I think that maybe I was even a little disappointed in it at first. You know, Maul goes after Kenobi with the same exact attack that he kills Qui-Gon with, which kind of ties into your favorite moment.
Yeah.
But Kenobi had grown and learned and became, he's a master now. And I think that just shows the difference between the dark side and the light, the growth of those two characters. And I
Yeah.
think, Taylor, you also brought into it too the compassion that Kenobi shows. I mean, this is a guy who killed his master, killed the love of his life.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he has no reason to be compassionate or not wanting to, chop his legs off a second time. But he has grown as a character, and it's kind of crazy that an animated, how long is that scene? 15 seconds or whatever, but it just encompasses, I think, a lot of what Star Wars is to me, and it's just like I said, a little bit of disappointment at first, but when you sit there and you take a deeper dive into it, I don't think it gets much better than that scene. And I was really, when they first announced Kenobi and all the rumors and stuff, they're going to remake that scene. I was like, oh, I hope they don't do that, because I don't think you could do it that well. But yeah, so that's mine. I guess those kind of tie into each other. And Taylor, how about you? What's your favorite moment in Star Wars?
This is a hard one for me. I know it's super corny to say, but I just really love all of Star Wars. I honestly have thought about this so much. Thought about my favorite moments in all of the Skywalker saga movies, and I just thought which are my favorite ones, and I just honestly can't decide. But I I get a lot of joy and a lot of emotions, sad and happy, from Revenge of the Sith. I don't think I have ever actually watched the ending of it without crying. When Padme is gone, and I just know how happy my husband makes me. Like the love, the connection. He's my best friend, and I could not imagine if he tried to save me and sacrificed his entire life, his happiness, everything that he's grown up around for me. Fortunately, it being the right thing, but it just makes me think those feelings that they have for each other at the end of that movie and how terrible their story ends. It hurts. It hurts a lot, and I love it, because without those two, without Padme and Anakin, we wouldn't have this crazy Star Wars
No.
galaxy today, and it all
It
goes back
is,
to right. That it all goes back to
yeah,
that Tatooine.
Yeah.
it absolutely does. I think it's crazy. Like all of our stuff kind of wraps around Kenobi a little bit,
Yeah.
being involved. But yeah,
Ah,
boys will do crazy things for
That's
love.
so slick. I was talking to my wife about it this morning. She's not a massive Star Wars fan, but she will watch it. She understands she's a Star Wars widow. But we were talking about Revenge of the Sith, and she's like, "Yeah, I refuse to watch that one." I was like, "Why?" She says, "Because that boy that grows up, he just turns out to be a massive disappointment." I was like, "What, Anakin?" She went, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay."
turns into a.
No. All right. Well, yeah, those are some awesome moments. Those are big moments, obviously. And I'm sure we'll probably dive into most of those in later episodes. But yeah, that's phenomenal.
We'll
The
get
next thing
better.
we got, and I think our last topic, I think, for today will be what do you guys, Jack and I were just at Celebration. I know, Taylor, you watched, glued, like you said, you were glued to your computer screen for 4 days while we were there. And I think, and I will, I do think being there I'm excited for you guys, Taylor, for you to go to your first celebration, hopefully in a few years. But what are you guys most looking forward to that they announced or that we know is coming? Um, you know, what has got you going? And I think I'll start this one. We got to see the Ahsoka trailer. I got into the Ahsoka panel, so I got to see that extra footage, and I will say that I was like pretty hyped after that. And then I think Jack, you got into and you saw the Acolyte. I mean, you're wearing the shirt,
Yeah.
and you were explaining to me the scene. Most people, some people haven't put this on, have they?
No.
This isn't out on YouTube or anything, is it?
No.
So there's a scene that Jack was explaining to me, and I was like, that sounds pretty sick. And he was explaining the scene to me, and then I went into the High Republic panel, and going through it, and people freaking out. It's pretty crazy because at Anaheim, the book ones were almost empty,
Yeah.
and now it was packed, chock
Ram.
full of people. Really cool to see that the books are doing that well. But they showed us, kind of a surprise, they showed us the Acolyte trailer, and there's a character that's going to be making a jump. I don't want to get into spoilers or anything like that because we haven't said spoiler warnings, but I was stunned when they told us who that character was, and I was like, oh my goodness. And so for me, I know we got Ahsoka and we've got the Skeleton Crew, but Acolytes, it's just, I cannot wait because all the reading we've done, the different phases of the High Republic, and for that to all kind of tie into a TV show. And I think personally, movies are coming from this as well. They'd be crazy not to, with the popularity. But yeah, so that's my favorite. What I'm looking forward to the most, the Acolyte. Taylor, what about you? As you were staring at your screen, what popped off at you the most?
So I had a friend who was filming when David Ridley walked out, and I think they almost dropped their phone. So I got really excited about that. And you know what? I'm not just saying I'm excited for the sequels to the sequels. And people can say that, like, oh, okay, yeah, it's going to be them. But think about it this way. When The Force Awakens was going to come out, they released this whole line of Journey 2 books, these canon novels, right? We got some really good books out of that. We got Lost Stars. We got the whole Aftermath trilogy. I'm super excited to see what they're going to do for this new. I believe it's going to be a trilogy, right?
Yeah.
And I also think, like, we could very well see Grogu there. We could, right? That's the rumor. That's what everybody's saying. Where are all of these new Jedi coming from? He's going to train. Where are they going to come from? Are they going to be out looking for these people? Like, I know there's holocrons that have like names of kids and force sensitive kids. Those are way outdated by now.
Yeah.
They're going to have something like that. I think they've just confirmed that John Boyega's coming back as well. And I'm pretty sure I remember hearing Oscar Isaac a few months ago saying that he would love to come back into Star Wars, and we know he was talking to them already, right? Like, you can't just talk to them and not, like, even Daisy Ridley couldn't not post a picture of the Yoda statue, like, But
Yeah, I think
looking forward to see what the new villains are going to be, because what is it going to be? There's not going to be any Sith anymore. There's not, like, the First Order should be gone. So I'm looking forward to the new Rey movie coming out, because those characters again. I want to see what's going on with the Resistance, if there's even a Resistance anymore. I want to see how the galaxy has come together and how they are now, because they all came, just people. We came together, right? So how is the galaxy now? And that's what I'm looking forward to, is all of the stuff that comes with these new sequels, not just the movie itself. Bam.
What are they going to call those movies? What's going to be the slang for? You got the OT, the PT, and
I think they said something
the
about
ST,
the new Jedi Order, didn't they?
The new Jedi Order. I also think, Taylor, possibly, I don't know if you're playing Jedi Survivor yet, and again, no spoilers, but there's something that's happening in that game that could be an answer to where some of those Jedi are coming from. I'm not going to say more than that.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
So I don't want, like I said, no spoiler warning. There's no spoilers. I don't want to dive into it too much, but they're, having just dove into that
Yeah.
game and played all day Friday, taking off work and playing all day Friday. There's some stuff, and I won't know until I finish the game, but I think there may be a connection.
Oh yeah,
possibly happening, and
potentially.
There's some
so
fruit for picking.
I think there's quite possibly something. I haven't watched. I know there's footage up. I think there's like the 3.5 hours of like footage is already up on
Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah.
But I'll
Ah,
play my
no.
way through it, and that's now I'm looking forward to that. So I do think that they're doing such a better job tying everything in. Like, just things are just starting to connect. I think they've learned their lesson
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
the sequel trilogy, and they've done such a wonderful job. I'm hoping that they've learned their lesson, and
I
that
think,
people get excited when there's a little connection. Something happened in Jedi Survivor, and I texted a friend right away. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe this is here, and like, yeah, that was so cool. And it was just a little thing. It was like a symbol that kind of ties some stuff together, and then of course more things happen. But I do
and
think that they've learned their lesson. So, and moving forward, I think things are going to be, and it's just like the Acolyte, like we said, being tied in,
Yeah.
and also tying in the Phantom Menace. Like, they're going to have that transition period, so that's pretty exciting.
yeah,
But yeah,
I'll
so
wait for the next few years for this. For this.
yes, it'll be a serious countdown. I mean, when they announce that, but probably Japan, they announce or show the first
Yeah, I
trailer.
think
I mean,
so.
that's 2 years away. But we have a lot of content coming
Yeah.
out, a lot of stuff we'll cover. So we'll keep everyone entertained until that next movie. So,
Yeah. Well.
all right.
Well,
Well, I think
saying
that went
that,
pretty
there is
well.
one other thing I was looking forward to, but again, we didn't really get that much information about Dave Filoni's new film.
What
Yeah,
what
we
what
That
entice what entices you about
that
that
is
one?
going to be insane because, well, what he hasn't done anything wrong. That's the strange thing. That he hasn't really put a foot wrong at all. And it's actually
no.
interesting because when Taylor was talking about Revenge of the Sith, when there's that big battle scene, I was watching something the other week or the other day, and he was saying one of the first things he's seen on the big screen, or what he remembers, was that battle scene, and thinking, yes, this is Star Wars. This is what I want to see. And then obviously he's then announcing that he's doing a film, and he loves to see battle on a grand scale. So when we're seeing big battles and it's Dave Filoni, nothing can go wrong. So yeah, that probably be another thing I'll be quite excited to see, especially how
Very cool.
entwined all of the series is together as well. I mean, well, we seen it at Celebration when the Mandalorian was on the big screen. It's a lot different to your TV at home. Um, yeah, it's going to be pretty sick on the big
Yeah.
screen, I think.
And with
And
his
I think he
passion,
got on.
go ahead, Taylor.
I was gonna say Andy has John Favreau, who's already done Infinity War and Endgame, and I think it was like when was it? 5 years ago yesterday
Yeah,
that came out.
yeah,
I
you
think
got
I
it
was seeing
together.
that. That's insane.
But as well,
Um,
with the Acolyte, the producer, what's her name, Ray Ranchette. She had a lot to do with Solo, Rogue One, Force Awakens. So yeah, the Acolyte is phenomenal. Obviously got Leslie Headland that's directed everything.
yes,
Yeah, I think.
I'm excited to see what she's gonna do with the Acolyte. She walked on stage, and she said, "For Light and Life, I was in." Like, I'm like, you know what? This lady knows what she's talking about.
Yeah,
She loves it. And started getting emotional talking about it. I want people with that kind of
yeah.
feelings towards the projects working on them,
She
and
reminded
that's
me
what
of
makes me
Dave
super.
Filoni as well. And when she was saying stuff like she was making drawings and stories at school and stuff like that, it's like that is someone
Yeah,
that knows Star Wars, that wants to be in Star Wars.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean,
that's
she talked to the High Republic one where she brought her wife out, who will be in the show. I'm
Yeah,
not going to say as who, but um, brought her wife out, and just,
broke down.
yeah, telling that story about being picked on as kids, and having Star Wars is something like that.
Yeah,
So she knows how important Star Wars is to people. And then seeing Dave Filoni get emotional on the live
taking his
stage,
hat off.
um, Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of emotions and a lot of love going into the stuff that's coming out, and I think I don't think it's about the money. I think it's about
No.
the
They
product,
they
and
know
I'm
they
pretty
know that it's
excited
the
for
fans
that.
that drive it.
Yeah, got to be. So,
If I could work on a Star Wars film, I'd be like, I'll pay you and I'll come here and work. I'll work 7 days a week and I'll pay you to let me work. But I love seeing the passion that these actors even have on stage at Celebration. Like there were so many different actors, like Hayden Christensen. Like one was getting super emotional because Star Wars is such a huge community. Just
Yeah.
going these people going on stage and seeing the love, especially when some of these prequel characters were essentially they thought they were hated for how many years now, right? And now that all these younger kids who loved these movies in the 2000s, we have a voice now and we can
Yeah,
say, no, you're our childhood. You were the reasons we ran around with sticks and, fake blasters and pretended to be stormtroopers and I'm really happy to see people that love what they're doing. Like Katie Sackhoff loves being Bo-Katan. And that makes me so happy that people have the passion for projects. And it's not just a no-name director coming and working on something because he's getting paid to do it.
yeah.
yeah,
Right.
I mean, that's kind of the Rise of Skywalker all over again if they do that.
Yeah.
That will be it for this show. We hope you have some amazing Star Wars adventures, and until next time,
For light and life.
Never tell me the odds.
we have spoken.